Good morning. I thought it'd be fun to give a little chicken coop tour now that my coop's been holding strong for about a year and I haven't had any predator break-ins. I wanted my coop to be something I could build by myself with my limited knowledge of power tools, and I wanted it to be pretty affordable. So without further ado, here's my coop. Here's the exterior of my coop, and we have a hoop house on a permanent foundation. The floor of the coop is totally lined in hardware cloth, so no digging critters can get in through the floor. We have a tarp that covers the entire length of the run, and it is partial shade, but it lets a lot of sun through. I wanted the chickens to get as much vitamin D as they could. We had to put a few grommets in a few places, but at the bottom is PVC, just so I can have like a form for rolling up the tarp, and then carabiners through the grommets. And when it's cold or storming or raining, I clip them to the bottom so that there's total blockage of wind and rain. And then this side's completely down, just so you can see what it looks like. So really easy to roll up and down. I do have some complete shade just because it gets really hot here. One thing, if you are picking a spot for your coop, I wouldn't put it right under a tree, because every time it snows, the first warm day after a snow, big clumps of snow just fall down on the coop. It's really loud and it freaks the chickens out, so they spend those days hiding. Also, one time we had a raccoon try to get in via the branch, climbing out on the branch and dropping down on the coop. Obviously it's completely enclosed, so the raccoon didn't get anywhere. But another important thing is to make sure there's no gaps anywhere. We tried to keep these gaps as small as possible so that no mice or rats could get in, no snakes, nothing like that. And it's important to be aware of potential for flooding. Last year we had one really crazy storm in June and there was some flooding, so I put down this liner. You can see the blue peeking through, hoping if there's any storms this year it helps the chickens keep kicking dirt into the cracks, but we'll see how it goes. And there's Fiona in her little dust bath box. We'll talk a little bit about the door. This is like the greatest point of weakness in any coop, so it's important that it's completely predator proof. We have slide bolt and a lock, not so much for humans, but raccoons can easily figure out slide bolts. So also with COVID-19, and there's been a crazy, everyone's been buying baby chicks. I just feel worried sometimes that someone really desperate, if things get more desperate than they are, might try to steal my chickens. I've never had that worry before, but it's crossed my mind. There's also a slide bolt at the bottom, just because the door isn't, the wood's a little bit warped, so just to keep everything secure. And then I have this spring, but when I'm letting the chickens out to free range, I take it off so I can just have the door open. Here's the inside of my coop, and I try to have it somewhat interactive. Things for the chickens to jump on, areas they can kind of hide from each other if someone's being a little bully to the others, which happens sometimes. They have a little dust bath over there that I fill with a mixture of natural soil, organic peat. It's important that it doesn't have fertilizer in it, and a little bit of lime. See, sometimes they can be bullies. That's Stormo, and she is Alpha Bird, and she's walking around like she's gonna lay an egg pretty soon. Today they have some cantaloupe rinds. I guess I'll talk briefly about feeders. this feeder is great, and I got it from a local store called Buckley's Homestead Supply, and keeps the chickens from, they like to kick out or use their beaks to get food out and then just throw it all over the ground, and this feeder keeps the food in the feeder. And then usually I have a different water, but it's been really cold, and this little rubber bowl keeps the water from freezing without me having to plug in our heated water that I rarely use. Okay, now for the coop itself. It's actually a deck box that I got on Craigslist for $100. Pretty good steal because they're normally about $400 to $600 depending on where you get them. It's really big, bigger than it needs to be, but I wasn't sure as a first-time chicken owner how much space they'd need in there. And I built this little screened top for ventilation, and when I first built it, I was gonna put fodder on top that I grow in my house, but not all the chickens can get up there, which is a good thing for first-time chicken owners to know, because I have some bantams that can easily get up there, like Bonnabelle here and Fiona. But Minerva, she kind of looks fat next to the bantams. She's really not. She's like, what are you saying about me? She's not fat. She's pretty normal for her breed, but the heavy bodied layer breeds, they aren't going to be able to fly up there. And that brings me to inside the coop, where I put up some roosting bars, and Minerva cannot get to that top roosting bar. I have to put her up there every night. I've tried building ramps, but the deck box is too short, so the ramp is too steep for her to walk up. The angle is too steep. So that's fine. I love her, and I'll put her up there every night. And they all have to be together. They don't split up among the two bars. All 10 of them want to be on that top roosting bar together, and they hardly fit now that they're full grown. So things to be aware of. And for nest boxes, I have all different kinds because I find that not every chicken prefers the same exact thing. They tend to really like cardboard boxes. And then this is just a 5-gallon bucket that they got Grubley's mealworms in. And then this is a kitty litter box. But they all have a favorite box, which is this one. It doesn't matter if it's plastic or cardboard or whatever I put here, but this spot, it's slightly elevated. They love it. This little shelf here. We got Lumpy Space Princess laying an egg right now. You go, girl. One thing that's good to think through is how you're going to clean your coop. I love having this deck box because the resin is really easy to wipe down. But I also just have, like, this is a lid of a plastic tote. These are some big metal cookie sheets from a thrift store, and these catch most of their droppings because most of their pooping is done at night. And I can just dump it off into a bin that I have, and then once the bin gets full, I take it over and put it in my compost. I'll talk briefly about the materials I used. This frame is 16-foot cattle panel that I got from Big R. You can get it probably at any big feed store or ranch supply store. And then used fence staples to hammer it into the frame at the bottom. Like I said earlier, underneath this is all, there's hardwood cloth underneath that I covered with dirt. All this hardwood cloth is probably the most expensive item I had, and it's just really important to weave it together really well, so I used metal wire to weave it all. And here's Fiona. She's such a model. But at any rate, predators are creative. They'll figure out a way to get in if they really want to. So try to think through all of the potential predators in your area Raccoons are common everywhere. If you use chicken wire, they can reach through the chicken wire and they'll just grab the chicken and kill it through, even though they can't pull the chicken out. So hardware cloth's a better option. Not that it's totally unbreakable, but for the most part, it will deter most predators. Hey, Pimo. One final note is to just be aware of ways that chickens could hurt themselves in your coop and run. A lot of my birds at night, they try to, before I put them to bed, they try to roost on top of the coop. During the day, they might jump up there and jump down. When they're about to lay an egg, they tend to wander a lot. So they'll jump up, jump down, jump up, jump down. And I used to have bedding that was a little rougher on their feet, a little more coarse, and had a lot of problems with bumblefoot. So be aware of that. Another thing is when they jump down, I used to have some cinder blocks more around here, and Stormo actually hit herself in the face really badly and broke part of her beak off. So learned the hard way on that one. But you'll learn as you see what your chickens are interested in doing. So I think that's everything. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer anything.